Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Chloe Feng. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Jinping Lai loses his bid to engage a foreign lawyer for his national security trial. Xi Jinping rolls out a massive development plan for Central Asia. And the world's most powerful Western leaders gather in Hiroshima to plot the road ahead. Media tycoon Jinping Lai will not have British barrister Tim Owen as his defense lawyer in his national security trial later this year. In upholding a government decision to bar Owen, the High Court said Hong Kong courts do not have any power over matters related to the central government. Jenny Slow reports.
After Apple Daily founder Jinping Lai had been given the green light by the courts to allow British barrister Tim Owen to defend him in his national security trial, the government turned to Beijing. Last December, the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress delivered its interpretation. It said foreign lawyers could take part in national security cases only if they get the approval of the chief executive. In January, the Committee for Safeguarding National Security, headed by the chief executive, felt that Owen's participation could undermine national security and suggested that his application for a work visa be denied. Lai accused the committee of overstepping its powers and pressed for a judicial review in the High Court last month, hoping that Beijing's interpretation would not affect his decision to hire Owen. But his bid was rejected today. Chief Judge Jeremy Poon pointed out that the Committee for Safeguarding National Security is accountable to Beijing. Hong Kong courts have no power and are not qualified to handle matters related to Beijing, he noted. Poon said the national security law bans the disclosure of the committee's work, adding that its decisions are not amenable to judicial review because that would violate the confidentiality requirement. The immigration director, he noted, was acting on the suggestion of the committee and wasn't overstepping the department's powers. Poon added that as Lai had failed in his bid for a judicial review, his attempt to appoint Owen has become academic. 75-year-old Lai, who has been behind bars for almost 30 months, is due to go on trial in September, accused of sedition and conspiracy to collude with foreign forces. Janice Low, HKIBC.
China has unveiled a grand development plan for Central Asia. President Xi Jinping also vowed to improve the region's security and defense. One day after a spectacular welcoming ceremony, leaders of the China Central Asia Summit got down to business in the northwestern city of Xi'an. President Xi Jinping welcomed the leaders of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan as China strengthened ties with those countries by promoting modernization with its neighbors. In his keynote speech, Xi said China and Central Asian countries should deepen strategic mutual trust and always offer clear and strong support on core interests such as sovereignty, independence, national dignity, and long-term development. He proposed a greater cooperation in trade, transport, energy, green innovation, and culture. Xi called for the speedy building of Line D of the China Central Asia natural gas pipeline. Beijing, he said, will provide 26 billion yuan in financial support to Central Asian nations. He also stressed that China is ready to help them bolster their law enforcement, security, and defense capabilities. We will resolutely oppose external forces interfering in the internal affairs of regional countries and staging color revolutions. Maintain zero tolerance for terrorism, separatism, and religious extremism, he said, adding that China will promote the peaceful reconstruction of Afghanistan. The summit was the first in-person meeting since Beijing established diplomatic ties with the 5 former Soviet republics. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has dominated talks on the first day of the G7 summit in Hiroshima. Before sitting down to discuss a range of topics, the most powerful Western leaders remember those killed when the United States dropped an atomic bomb on the city. HKIBC reports.
Led by Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, G7 leaders paid their respects at the Peace Memorial Park in the city of Hiroshima to honor the 250,000 people killed in the world's first nuclear attack in 1945. The tribute came before the leaders of the United States, Canada, France, Italy, Germany, Britain, and the European Union opened their summit in the Japanese city to discuss pressing issues ranging from war in Ukraine to the global economy and escalating tensions with China. As the current president of the 7 most developed Western nations, Kishida confirmed that the bloc is united. During the 3-day summit, the G7 is set to impose more sanctions against Russia for invading Ukraine. Previous efforts to penalize Moscow have had little impact. Also on the agenda is how to deal with an increasingly powerful China.
A stable and constructive relation with China is in our mutual interest. We also need to engage together with China on global challenges, climate change, conservation of natural resources, biodiversity, debt sustainability. On Taiwan, we maintain our One China policy, no unilateral change of the status quo.
In a bid to show that it has wide support, the leaders of Australia, Brazil, and India are among a number of foreign officials invited to Hiroshima. But the G7 is expected to extend its biggest welcome to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who will join the summit on Sunday. He is expected to use the stage to press for more arms to oust Russian forces. Sachin Katwi, HKIBC.
Locally again, there is an urgent call for donors as Hong Kong's blood banks ran out of stock. The blood inventories have only 4 days of supply left. In recent days, the Red Cross blood transfusion service has been able to collect only 400 units of blood daily. That is 150 units short of its target. The shortfall has been blamed on the surge in COVID and flu cases and unstable weather. Blood types O, A, and B are needed the most. Hong Kong's second amber signal in 2 days has been cancelled after just an hour. The Labor Department issued the alert under the new heat warning system at 10:40 a.m. and appealed to outdoor workers to take appropriate action to avoid heat stroke. History was made yesterday when the first amber warning was put out, but the signal, which lasted 2 hours, went unnoticed by many workers, prompting industry leaders to urge the authorities to strengthen communication. Police say there were over 1,400 cases of phishing scams in the first 3 months of this year, with the victims losing $26 million.
Phishing scams usually involve cross-jurisdiction syndicates. So what I mean is that the syndicates are usually not situated in Hong Kong. So that's why we are having difficulties in identifying the syndicates overseas. Not every victim check their credit card statements daily. So when they realize there are some suspicious transactions, usually it may be after a few weeks or even a month. So it's give us difficulties in tracing the fund.
Chen said most scammers pretend to be telecom providers and send fake SMS messages and website links. He reminded the public to stay cautious at all times, adding the fraudulent messages would usually have spelling mistakes. Overseas, there is outrage in Australia after 95-year-old Claire Noland was tasered by police who were called to a care home when she was found carrying a steak knife.
At the time she was tasered, she was approaching police. but it is fair to say at a slow pace. She had a walking frame, but she had a knife. One of the police officers who responded, a senior constable, activated his taser, which struck Claire, whereby she fell to the ground, striking her head.
Nolan, who has dementia, is fighting for her life in hospital after being tasered in the town of Coma in New South Wales. The great-grandmother is well known in her community. In 2008, Nolan celebrated her 80th birthday by skydiving over Canberra. For the past 5 years, she has been living in the care home. Palestinians in Jerusalem have condemned a rally by tens of thousands of Israeli nationalists as a provocation. During the Jerusalem Day parade, the marchers mocked Palestinians with racist slogans. Some screamed "Death to Arabs" and "Your village is burning." Police who were out in force escorted far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir. Officers tried to control rowdy crowds who attacked several journalists. The rally was held to mark the anniversary of Israel's seizure of Jerusalem in the 1967 Middle East War. In the Gaza Strip, Palestinians marked the occasion by burning Israeli flags and launching balloons, flying Palestinian flags. Hong Kong stocks finished the week lower as sentiment soured over Alibaba Group's underwhelming fourth quarter results. The Hang Seng Index dropped 1.4% to a 2-month low, dragged by a slump in tech stocks. Alibaba led the decline, plunging 6%. The ripple effect engulfed JD.com, which finished 4.7% lower. Mainland search engine Baidu dwindled 4.5%. And now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed down 276 points. Top 10 active stocks: Alibaba down $5.30, Tencent down $4.20, and Tracker Fund lost 28 cents. JD.com down $6.80, Ping An down $1.55. Forex trading against Hong Kong dollar, the euro is at 8.45, British pound at 9.73, and Australian dollar at 5.20. Moving on to the UK market, the London FTSE is currently up 33 points. And onto the weather now. There will be sunny periods and showers this weekend. Temperatures will range between 27 and 32 degrees. More showers early next week. And now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That is our main news for Friday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Chloe Feng. Thanks for watching. Good night.